I hear over and over people complaining about, well, I don't live in America. How can I improve my English skills? Or I don't have anybody to talk to, and then it's not possible to improve my English skills. Of course, this is not true. You can improve your English skills alone, from home, from with your smartphone alone. But you have to know how. And there are many techniques that don't work or that give you results very, very, very slowly. And today I want to share with you one technique that has proven again and again to be really, really effective. So you see results fast and you can totally see how you improve your English speaking, which is very connected to your listening, right? So to fluent listening and understanding very fluent speech. So let's get down to it. We're gonna be talking about shadowing in English, right? So what it means and how to do it and how to do it properly, which is basically talking to yourself. So make sure that if you want to try this technique, you are at home where nobody sees and that you can speak out loud because you really need to make noise. You really need to be able to listen to yourself. Let's get started with some details on how to do it properly and what things you should avoid. What is shadowing exactly in English in this context? Well, shadowing means that you choose one speaker of English and you imitate the way they speak, not only their words, but really how they speak, right? So what you want to do here, and this is the first thing, is quality over quantity. You don't want to repeat an hour thing. No, it's just a phrase, a sentence, right? So if you are listening to a podcast or to a podcast, let's go with that example because in podcasts we really see how people talk naturally, right? So in songs it's a little different, but in podcasts usually they are talking naturally like they would talk in real life. So you listen to a podcast and you hear this word or this phrase, like, you know what I mean, and then you think, okay, I'm gonna take that, but it's very short, you know what I mean, and you will repeat it the way the podcaster did it. So try to focus on details and really copying exactly what you hear. Again, quality over quantity. Let's listen to an example, shall we? So I took this from a podcast I listened to. Let's play.
What they call the A round.
Okay, what does A stand for?
Well, there's seed funding, and then there's a very sophisticated ecosystem in Silicon Valley which has different rounds of investors, and investors specialize in really early. Then I want to get in at the A stage, then there'll be a B series, then there'll be a C series, and these are all stages in the development of companies. Seed is pre-income. A is like, pre-profits.
Let's stop there. There's a very sophisticated ecosystem in Silicon Valley. That's fast.
There's a very sophisticated ecosystem in Silicon Valley.
There's a very sophisticated ecosystem in Silicon Valley. He makes a stop there between ecosystem and in Silicon Valley. He makes a little break there. Ecosystem in Silicon Valley. And let's look at the intonation of Silicon Valley.
Ecosystem in Silicon Valley.
In Silicon Valley. In Silicon Valley. In Silicon Valley. So you can see he's a little doubting there. This happens when you speak. So he's like, in Silicon Valley. In Silicon Valley.
There's a very sophisticated ecosystem in Silicon Valley.
Ecosystem.
Ecosystem.
He stresses the ecosystem quite a bit, right? Ecosystem. You can really see that's the stress. There's another point that I'm interested in.
And then there's a very sophisticated ecosystem in...
There's There's a very sophisticated. He doesn't say there is a very sophisticated. He says there's a very there's a there's a very there's a very sophisticated. Let's listen to it again. It's very, very, very small.
Then there's a very sophisticated ecosystem.
There's a very sophisticated ecosystem in Silicon Valley, like very, very small. The. There's a very sophisticated ecosystem in Silicon Valley.
There's a very sophisticated ecosystem in Silicon Valley.
Let's do it with her question. What does A stand for? What was it?
What they call the A round.
Okay, what does A stand for?
Well, there's seed funding.
Okay, what does A stand for? What does A stand for? See how here the intonation is not necessarily the intonation of a question, like you would say, you're coming. She says, what does A stand for? What does A stand for? Goes down. What does A stand for? Let's listen to it again.
A round.
Okay, what does A stand for?
Well,
Okay, what does A stand for? Okay, what does A stand for? What does A stand for? Okay, what does A stand for? What does A stand for? She goes down, right? A stand for. A stand for. Yeah, this is how you do shadowing. So something I recommend is choosing one speaker that you like, but most importantly, that you understand. We sometimes think, ooh, English is one thing. And honestly, there are many different Englishes. And some might be easier to understand for you, and some might be more difficult. If they have a deeper, more regional accent, it might be more difficult. So choose one that you understand and stick with that. If you understand it, listen to it a lot and do shadowing with that. It can also be a speaker that you like, somebody that you feel, ooh, that the way they talk, it's fresh, it's relaxed, it's fun. Then choose them. But it's important. It's important that you understand them. So that would be the first thing that you should pay attention to when you choose who to shadow. The second thing I would recommend is to focus on one sound or one aspect that's particularly challenging for you. If you know, for example, that you have issues with the th sound, so with the TH sound, and you think, oh, I want to improve this because then I can speak better English, then try to listen to that sound in the podcast and try to find that sound and repeat it, right? So repeat the word, repeat the phrase. It can also be an intonation. So you listen how the person said this question, like ask this question, like, are we ready? Are we ready? Oh, and think, oh, I don't do questions like that, actually. Let's try it out. Are you ready? Are you ready? And then you really have to say it out loud a couple times, right? So this brings me to my following point, which is repetition. When it comes to shadowing, repetition is key. You want to obsess with repeating the same words, the same phrase over and over and over again until you feel, okay, I got it, right? And even if you already feel you've got it, still repeat it again and again. Actually, if you see how children learn languages, they do this a lot. So you would say something to a child like, careful with that, and they will repeat it, careful with that, and they will repeat it a lot. I know this from my little nephew, and he would learn and he would repeat everything that you say. If you say something in a funny way, he would repeat it and he would make fun of it. And the reason why he does this is because he finds it interesting, so he repeats it, and it's a great way of learning a language. So allow yourself to play with it, to play with the tones. There are speakers that really play with their tones, and they go up when they want to exclamate, and then they go down and they go very serious. Right? So try all these different things. You want to listen to them and try them and play with it, have fun with it. But really, we need to repeat it and repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. This way, when you speak, you will feel you have this training, like these, for example, do you know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? As a chunk, if you repeat it a lot of times, then you will feel it's almost like one word. It's almost one unit, and this is great, right? The more you have of these phrases, the better, the more fluent you can be. So repeat, repeat, repeat. That was mostly it for shadowing. I hope you have an idea of how to do it. I want to go to one thing that I don't recommend to do while shadowing, which is songs. I mean, songs are really, really good for other things like learning vocabulary and pronunciation of specific words, or just, for example, if you have not talked in English for a long time and you're gonna have a meeting in English, it's good to listen to a song before the meeting, or half of a song, just to get yourself into the English, into the English language, to get yourself working in English a little bit before the meeting. So songs are really, really good. Also, the English learning process needs to be fun. You have to have fun with English too. So songs are great for other things. But for shadowing, they're not the best. And they're not the best because when you sing, the intonations and how you would naturally speak, well, you don't, right? It's a song. So it is good for specific words. If you're struggling with some words, then usually they pronounce them correctly. But if you have phrases or sentences, they won't do the right intonation, well, the spoken intonation, because they're singing. So while it might be fun and it would be good to learn vocabulary, for example, for shadowing, songs are not the best. So avoid those. Work more with YouTube videos, podcasts, movies, dialogues in movies. They are speaking like natural people speak. So those are better for shadowing if you want to improve your speaking skills, intonation, how to connect words, your fluency in general. Before we come to the summary, I created a little video here to help you deal with frustration. So if you are somebody who feels frustrated when learning English, or you feel you are doing a lot of work but getting nowhere, or that you still don't understand movies, and how can this be? I've spent so many years or so many months. Go watch this video, because I give you practical tools and an explanation of what might be happening here and how you can overcome it. So regarding today's video, let's summarize the main points. First, quality over quantity. We don't want to do long sentences for shadowing. It's short sentences. So quality over quantity, short sentences, phrases, words, short chunks. Repeat, 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 repeat. So better to do fewer and repeat them a lot of times. So repeat, 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 repeat. And one tip for me is, from my side, it's don't use songs for this one. You can use songs for other things, and I love learning with songs, and it's a great tool, but not for shadowing. So that would be my advice. And yeah, that's everything on my side. Cheers, Uriel.